Jim Knieriem here, Farmer Jim at Comcast, Farmer Jim at Cape Cod Comcast.net. Today is April 2nd. We're at the State House in Boston. It's Agricultural Day, and we're going to do a series of interviews with young farmers, old farmers, state legislators, senators, and if we're lucky, we're going to get Governor Deval Patrick. There's one thing I need everybody to remember: farming is involved in everything that you do in your life. So today we're going to try to get the important facts of farming in Massachusetts out. Thank you for letting me come into your home. I am the president of the Cape and Islands Farm Bureau and also the farmer's husband at Miss Scarlett's Blue Ribbon Farm. Thank you. Standing here with Tasha, again, representing Cape Cod, Barnstable, Buy Fresh, Buy Local. She's up here with Kim and Bill from the local agency. You're starting up sending out your newsletters.
Yes.
Let's talk about our newsletters so that we can get it out there so that people can get information from you,
right,
or they can get information to you.
Yes. So every month we have our newsletter. We want all of our members to send in their information about what's going on. Lots of people looking for CSAs, and everybody's getting really excited about the growing season, eating fresh local produce again, so delicious, and farmers markets gearing up, and so we'll have all that information in our newsletter.
Tasha, have you seen any of our state, our Cape legislators? Has anybody come by the booth yet?
I have not. I've been locked here behind the table, but I think Kim saw somebody just come by.
All right, well, Kim and Tasha, I want to tell you both you're doing an excellent job of promoting local agriculture, and not just for the dirt farmers, but for the commercial fish hookermen's hook association. You have a little relationship with them, and the clams and the oysters and the nurseries and the landscapers, and it just goes on and on and on. If they want information on Buy Fresh, Buy Local Cape Cod, how do they find it?
Go to buyfreshbuylocalcapecod.org. That's the easiest way. Everything's there. Sign up for our newsletter, see all of our members, what all of our members have, events, news, all that good stuff. buyfreshbuylocalcapecod.org.
Tasha, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim.
We just got done with the ceremonies at the Nurses Hall, I believe is what they call it, and it is my distinguished pleasure to be standing here with two of the most powerful agricultural people in the state of Massachusetts. Rich Bonato, who is the president of the Massachusetts Farm Bureau, and a very distinguished, honored Greg Watson, who is the Commissioner of Agriculture, who has taken a lot of steps to make agriculture become more aware, better, and cleaner. Rich, what's so important about today?
The importance of Agriculture Day at the State House is an opportunity for farmers to come face to face with their legislators. We do a lot of behind-the-scenes work. Farm Bureau and other organizations work with their legislators, but farmers coming in and speaking on behalf of their own operations, speaking directly with legislators, is what makes all the difference in terms of bringing our causes forward.
Now, you've been a farmer. Where's your farm at?
We are located in Methuen, Massachusetts, in Essex County. We've got 50 acres of vegetables and about an acre of greenhouses.
And what's the name of your farm?
Pleasant Valley Gardens since 1910.
1910.
Yep.
Greg, you have been involved in environment, agriculture forever. This show broadcasts on Cape Cod on the local community channel. We are fortunate to have a commissioner that is from Cape Cod. Tell us what you see happening in the future with agriculture on the Cape, Southeast Massachusetts, New England, and the world.
Throughout the region. I think, again, this region, Massachusetts, New England in general, going to show how take leadership in demonstrating what we really mean by sustainable agriculture. And sustainable agriculture, sustainable, the term has as much to do with economic viability as it does with environmental soundness. And the idea is, how do we merge those two? Now, we have to do that out of necessity. I think that's where our Yankee ingenuity, our entrepreneurship, our understanding. I mean, we have small family farms. I think that's a thing that people need to understand. And these farmers like Rich, who've been farming for years, centuries, not Rich himself, but certainly in the family, understand that the land, the earth, and the water that they nurture those crops are essential to the well-being of their farm and their farm operation. So they really were demonstrating farmers are the quintessential stewards of the land, and they're also, again, feeding the population. So you couldn't have a better combination, but I think we lead the way in showing how you really do merge those two goals.
Being on the Cape, I have a lot of regulatory issues. You know that. I've contacted you that. Are you able to have discussions with state senators and state reps and even the governor to say, hey, we've got rules in place that have been there for 50, 60, 75 years. They're antiquated. We need to revise them. But until they're revised, boards of health, our board of health in most of the communities on the Cape, farming has left the Cape except for some spots in Falmouth and all that. Are we able to get our message across where we're at least able to say, hey, stop what we're doing and let's reevaluate that and come up with some better ideas,
Some better ideas and also better vehicles. I think, you look at the ag commissions that are now in place and really playing a real buffer role in terms of sort of being liaisons on behalf of agriculture, working with local boards of health. We've got the right to farm, we have a number of, I think, innovations. We're going to have regulations. There's no question we're going to have regulations.
They need them for public safety.
And for public safety, public health. But if we can do them in a way that's reasoned and informed by folks who understand farming, and also, as I say, these farmers live on these aren't absentee farmers. These aren't corporate farmers who have some, an operation, but they live somewhere else in New York. They live on that land, so they're just as concerned, as you know, about the health and well-being of that land and as anyone else. So I think we're finding that those tools, particularly I think the ag commissions, I know Rich has been really involved in that, are really going to help us play a role in trying to find the good middle ground and making this work on behalf of everyone in the Commonwealth.
Well, I'm going to cut this short because both these men here have very important jobs. They are some of the most important people in New England when it comes to agriculture, be it urban agriculture or commercial agriculture out in the fields, dairy and everything else. Mr. Watson, it's been my pleasure to talk to you. And Rich, we'll see you around the turnip patch.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Jim again with the Cape and Islands Farm Bureau at the State Day, and I am interviewing a longtime friend, Peter Carter. Peter Carter raises Pinsgauer cattle up in what town?
Georgetown.
Georgetown. And you have about 25 or 30 head of cattle?
25 at the moment.
Right. And you show all over New England.
All over New England.
And you are here today standing in front of the Massachusetts State Grange. Do you want to give us a little update on what the Grange is? The Grange was very popular, 100 years ago, and it's lost, like farming, it lost its favor. Now it's coming back in.
Right. We at one time had several chapters down on the Cape with two regional Granges that represented the Cape. The Grange, when I say regional, the Grange is split up into four sections. There is subordinate or community Granges, and then almost like a county Grange, state Grange, and national Grange. Today, as you could, if you pan back, you can see a map of the state that has where the Grange is. There's only about 60 in the state in Massachusetts, but we are working on building our membership back up for the first time in
Reactivating some
yes,
of these.
one being in Plymouth.
Okay.
For the first time in about 50 years, we've actually had a net gain in membership versus a decline. So
Now, what does the Grange do? What is the reason behind the Grange?
the Grange is a agricultural fraternal organization. When it was first started, it was to help rebuild the country after the Civil War, and also at that time the railroad had monopolies on everything. It was a way for the farmers to unite and fight back against
Advocacy.
So, and we still do farming that agriculture advocacy. We're getting into community service. The Grange I'm affiliated with in West Newbury is working with our local grade school and putting in raised beds so the kids can learn how to grow their own food.
Now, the name of your farm?
Woodland Farm in Georgetown.
Georgetown. And other than cattle, do you have anything else?
We have some chickens, we raise some pigs, quarter acre market garden.
Now, who's this beautiful lady? What's her role here today?
Her role today is she is our. She's the only one we got. So she is the state youth ambassador. It is open to 14 to 20. Am I correct?
35.
14 to 35.
14. 21 for youth.
Yes, the ambassadorship is open to 14 to 21, and she represents Massachusetts. She'll be going on to regional and national activities, and she's living proof that Grange is not just for older farmers, and we have
Like the young ranchers and farmers with the Farm Bureau. So how is your seeing that you're ambassador and you are the youth ambassador for the Grange, just tell us a little bit about your experiences.
I have done regional conferences, but I've also done contests for the regional level, the state level, and I've gained a lot of leadership with public speaking, sign-a-song, baking, agriculture contests. So
Now, do you come from a farm life, or
I do. I was raised on a dairy farm,
in what town?
Dunstable,
And what's the name of your family farm?
Tully Farm,
Holly Farm.
Tully.
Tully Farm.
Yep.
Well, this is living proof that the youth of America, I've got confidence back in the youth of America. It was a pleasure meeting you, Aaron. Nice seeing you again, Peter. We'll see you on the show circuit. Jim here, standing with
Bill Lister.
Bill Lister. Bill, you are a Cape Cod lobsterman, correct? And go through a typical season for a Cape Cod lobsterman.
Well, I painted the bottom of the boat yesterday and putting it in tomorrow. Got to go to New Bedford and buy bait probably the day after and start setting lobster traps.
How many traps do you set?
600.
600. How big a crew do you have helping you?
Just me and my stepson.
You and your stepson.
And in the summer, my son goes to.
Now, you are a member of what organization would this be?
Massachusetts Lobster Association.
Now, how many lobstermen do you think there are on Cape Cod? Just a roundabout number.
40, 50.
40, 50. And when you started this, how many lobstermen were on Cape Cod?
Probably closer to 80.
And regulations and all the other stuff that's going on and has made it very difficult for you to make a decent living?
Expenses as far as fuel and bait and places to tie up in town. All the expenses have gone up, which probably has for everybody, but
Now, give us a scenario. When you're lobstering, the average person doesn't know what a lobster fisherman does. After you've loaded your traps on the boat, what does a lobster fisherman do, and how long do they soak, and when do you go back and check them?
well, we get up at 4 in the morning, go out and haul traps for the day. We probably work till noon or 1 every day and go in. We sell everything in Hyannis at Cape Fish and usually get home by 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So that's one of the good things of the job, I guess.
Now, you're kind of like a doctor and a lawyer and an accountant and everything, a mechanic and everything else, because you have to know, if bait costs X amount of dollars, you have to return X amount of lobsters into the pot. You have to, if physically looking at a lobster over the years you've been lobstering, you'll know that if it's a healthy lobster, if it's not a healthy lobster. So your job as a lobsterman is very difficult. You have to belong to associations and all the new regs and all the things that are coming down: red tide, white tide, black tide, high tide, low tide.
Well, having done it for 30 years, a lot of that stuff is actually easier because I have experience with doing it, but I wouldn't want to be a young kid trying to work his way through all the things that we have to go through every day. That's probably one of the sad things about it. Not much of an accountant or any of that, but I do my own mechanic work on the boat and all the work getting anywhere I can save money and do it myself, I do whenever I can. But a lot of things are out of your hands. The cost of bait is something that, knowing people for many years, you might get a little bit better deal and know where to go when things are tight. But some things you just can't control: the price of fuel and the price of bait and everything else that you can. You try to do the best you can to save money there.
Has it been a good life?
Yes.
If you had to do it all over again, would you do anything different?
I don't believe so, no.
It's been my pleasure to stand here with Bill Lister. He is a farmer of the sea of the Cape Cod lobster. Good luck this year, and hope your prices are high and hope your seas are calm.
Thank you.
I'm standing here with one of the most former influential agricultural proponents, persons that promoted agriculture in Massachusetts history, other than his predecessor, which was Doug Gillespie, Scott Soares. Scott, you're no longer at the State House being the agricultural commissioner. You now have taken a job in the agricultural industry, and give us a little update on your life.
Right. Yep. Thanks, Jim. Good to see you. And thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that. Actually, now I work with the single largest commodity for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, cranberries. I'm working with the U.S. Cranberry Marketing Committee. It's an organization that was created back in 1962 as what's called a marketing order. And we actually work on supply and demand issues associated with the cranberry industry across the country. So we actually work with cranberry growers not only here in Massachusetts, but in Wisconsin, which is the primary growing area for the country, as well as New Jersey, Washington, and Oregon State. And our most recent efforts have really been to ramp up demand abroad in international markets. In fact, we're in China now and have done the biggest promotion that the committee's ever done in the last 50 years in China. We're also looking at Russia, and we'll be in India and Brazil in the upcoming months to do more of that promotion development.
Getting on my soapbox preaching about agriculture, cranberries was the first real commercial crop in New England 150 years ago.
Yeah.
And I always preach on my show that agriculture started in Plymouth and Barnstable counties 400 years ago when the Mayflower showed up. They brought their cattle and their hogs and their chickens and their corn and everything else. Cranberries grown on Cape Cod, southeastern Massachusetts, are sold all over the world.
That's correct.
And the average person doesn't realize that. They go to the Stop and Shops and the Shaws and the Grand Unions, and they go buy their frozen cranberries or their fresh berries in November, and they forget that somebody like myself or well-represented other people here 7 days a week are tending their crops, tending their livestock, so that they can bring a very healthy and nutritious food to their table. You have seen the transition. I was a dinosaur 6-7 years ago when, we were farming because nobody wanted to buy tomatoes. They could buy them from the Boston produce market for $10 for 25 pounds. Now we're getting a decent price for them. Cranberries, how long has cranberries been in existence in the commercial med?
Well, cranberries are one of only 3 native commercially cultivated crops in North America. The other 2 are Concord grapes, and I know I'm going to draw a blank on blueberries. So blueberries, Concord grapes, and cranberries.
And Concord grapes is from where?
From Concord, Massachusetts. I mean, as the name indicates. But I think for cranberries, and you mentioned the Pilgrims, actually the Native Americans knew about the health benefits that really are pinned to what cranberries are all about when they first met the Pilgrims. And the cranberries were used for a variety of healing opportunities. Poultices were made by Native Americans as well as for consumption and meat preservation. There were a number of different ways cranberries were used that now research has really proven that in fact the health benefits are really true and accurate. In fact, cranberries are among the highest antioxidant fruits that are out there. Next to blueberries, they're right at the top of the list. So that's really helped us with kind of the health message around cranberry consumption. Ultimately, what we're looking at now is really consuming cranberries for throughout the year, and essentially establishing a reason for every season is kind of the domestic campaign that we're looking at now to really move cranberries beyond just what's typically associated with cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving, but that there are a broad variety of cranberry product forms, dried cranberries, cranberry juices, even powdered cranberry at this point, that can be used in baked goods or used in snack opportunities that people are using throughout the world at this point, and recognizing cranberry for its unique flavor and its goodness.
Throughout the world.
That's right.
Throughout the world.
That's right.
Our little agriculture in little podunk New England is throughout the world.
That's correct.
Everybody eats cranberries at Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Everybody has cranberry juice when they have a urinary tract infection or something like that. Getting back to you, Scott. You served the Commonwealth excellent for 20 years?
Actually, I was with the Department of Agriculture for 17 years altogether. I was the state's first aquaculture program coordinator, so fish farming and shellfish farming, and how I met many of the folks down on the Cape. And from there, I did a variety of things at the department, but the last 3 years of my tenure at the department, I was appointed commissioner. In fact, the only person to ever be appointed from within the agency in the 150-year history as commissioner of the agency, and really feel privileged to have had the opportunity to do that and work with the broad industry here in Massachusetts.
Now, you talk about aquaculture.
Yeah.
You were instrumental in E&T Farms.
That's correct. Ed and
Betty Osmond. You've worked closely with Les Hemela.
That's right.
John Lowell at East
That's
Dennis
right.
Oysters.
East Dennis Oysters, that's right.
You're educated where?
My education started at SMU, not Southern Methodist, but Southeastern Mass University.
Yep.
And by the time I finished, after some work out in Alaska, came back, it was UMass Dartmouth. And from there, I went on and did some graduate work down at the University of Rhode Island.
So when we say buy fresh, buy local, he's been educated local, and he's working local, and he's been and he's done the Commonwealth proud. And I'm sure you're going to do the Cranberry Association proud.
Thanks very much.
Thank you
Had
for
a
your
lot of
time.
good teachers.
And good luck.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
Yep.
Thanks.
Hi, Jim here with an excellent dairy farmer from Western Massachusetts, Jim Larkin, Larkin Dairy Farm in Western Mass. Jim, give us a little highlight of what you do at your farm and what your farm does.
We raise 500 acres of corn. We milk over 300 cows, and we got another 250 young stock.
And these cows need to be milked how many times a day?
Well, ideally twice, and some farms milk 3 times a day.
And cows need to be milked how many days out of a year?
Well, it's their lactation period, so it's when they calve to when you dry them off. It's usually 60 days before they have their next calf.
And that's a 7-day-a-week job.
Yes, you can't. Animals, when they're in your care, you got to take care of them 24/7, 365.
And what time is your milking time?
Usually 5 in the morning.
And 5 in the afternoon?
We cheat a little bit, like 3:30 in the afternoon we get started, so it gives our guys a little life.
Right. You said you do 500 acres of crops.
Well, that's just the corn acres.
Just corn acres.
There's
Put up
another 400 acres of hay that we do.
Right. And you're milking over 300 head of cattle.
Yeah.
Most of them Holsteins, Jerseys, Guernseys.
We got predominantly Holsteins, and we got some crossbreds.
Right. And you're from what county?
Berkshire County.
And you're set on the board of directors for Berkshire County Farm Bureau. What position do you hold?
Well, I was county president up till last year, so now I'm set on the board, and I'm a state director at large on Mass Farm Bureau.
State director is a very important job. Every county is represented by a state director. I'm a state director from Barnstable in the Cape and Islands, and we advocate for rules and regulations that try to make it a little easier on farming. How have we been doing with that?
I'd say we're very successful because I just went to a meeting with legislators, and they were asking us questions that, they're telling us that they know our issues.
Right.
That we've been, working with them to try to help, mutually beneficial situations.
Right. Jim, it's been my pleasure to talk to you. If you ever come down to the Cape, see me at Miss Scarlett's Blue Ribbon Farm, and we'll get you to have a lobster and get you to get those feet in the beach and have them clean the manure off out of between your toenails if you can go to the nice beach. All right?
Maybe help me dig some clams, sir.
I don't dig clams, but I know people that got them. Nice talking to you again, Jim. I'm standing here with the young farmers and ranchers of the Massachusetts State Farm Bureau. I have the pleasure of being with Nathan Litoli, the former Assistant Agricultural Commissioner for the state of Massachusetts, Ryan McKay, who is on the Livestock Committee, and Jamie Cruz. Jamie Cruz is the chair of the Young Farmers and Ranchers for the Massachusetts Farm Bureau, and I want the Cape and Islands viewers to know that farming is alive and well when it's placed in the hands of educated, well-rounded young adults. The age bracket for the young farmers and ranchers is what?
18 to 35.
18 to 35. And you, through the Farm Bureau, have a series of responsibilities, one of them being advocating for farming and everything else. But you being the chair, what is your position and where have you been this year to advocate for farming in Massachusetts?
Well, we're the future of our organization, so we're kind of learning by getting involved. We've traveled as far as Hawaii. Just this year, we've been down to Phoenix, Arizona. We were in Washington, D.C., and Nashville, Tennessee.
Right. Now, when you were in Washington, D.C., you were advocating with legislators and other farmers. through the American Farm Bureau, which we are a chapter of. Massachusetts Farm Bureau is a chapter of the American Farm Bureau. When you were there, did you get to meet Obama and tell him that he can do things a little better, or he's doing great?
I actually was unable to attend this year. I was there last year. Ryan McKay went. So.
Ryan, you're up. Did you get to talk to anybody important down there in Washington about local, regional, national issues on farming?
We did. Unfortunately, Obama was busy that day, but we got to meet with a lot of our state reps and senators. We met with quite a few of them and discussed bills that are very pertinent to the industry, that have effects on us, whether it be farm policy, having to do with the Farm Bill, nutrition programs, farmers market funding. So I felt like it was very effective. After last year meeting with our representatives, when they were going through the Farm Bill, Farm Bureau had phone calls from many of the reps calling and asking for our opinion on it. So I think it helps to let them know that we're here and we know what we're talking about.
Thank you, Ryan. Now, getting back to you, being the young farmers and ranchers and being 18 to 35, what is your main mission and your main goal as the chairman? What is your focus? I know you have a board of directors and that you are sit on the board of directors of the Massachusetts Farm Bureau. What's your goal this year for the young farmers and ranchers?
Probably to get more young farmers involved. There's a lot out there that just need to get pulled in. They're busy working on their farms, but they need to have a voice on the state and national table, so it's important to get them involved. We also have a lot of competitions that we're kicking off this year for young farmers to put their businesses up against other businesses in the state and then go on to compete nationally against farmers and ranchers from all over the country. So we're really excited about that.
Jamie, thank you for your time. I'm going to take a few minutes and talk to Nathan over here. He's been very instrumental in a lot of agriculture politics and regulations. Thank you. You two just hang tight. Nathan, yes, you've been involved with politics for a while. You've traveled the world. Where do you see agriculture in Massachusetts going? We know where it's came. Agriculture's been here for 400 years. It's every day that we get up, our cup of coffee, our cream, our sugar, our cereal, some farmer, someplace either grew it, cared for it, or taken care of it, or harvested it, or packaged it, washed it, cleaned it. What's your vision for Massachusetts farming?
I think Massachusetts farming is alive and well. One of the struggles that we're facing is we have an older generation of farmers. Our farmers are in their 60s. They look a bit more like you than they do like us. That's certainly not a negative. There's a huge amount of leadership that's taken place there. There's an establishment that's been built by those farmers that has created something that we can follow in your footsteps with. But farmers, like any small business owner, can't be expected to just drop into a business and succeed. Young farmers need to be fostered. They need support to grow up, to take the place of the generation that came before them, and that's what Mass Young Farmers does. That's what we're hoping to do here today, is help train the young farmers, help get them involved, help them get some of those other skills that they may not necessarily learn on the farm.
Nathan, the name of your farm and what county are you from and what town and what is your specialty?
Absolutely. 4-Star Farms in Northfield, Massachusetts, www.4starfarms.com. We grow a variety of small grains. We mill them into flour. We also grow hops for the local brewing market. And we have sod, which lines many of the homes on the Cape.
The hops. I just did an interview 2 weeks ago with Cape Cod Beer. It's up on YouTube, and it's if you YouTube or Google Meet the Cape Cod Farmer, Cape Cod Beer, really into local and sustainable, and they'll probably be calling you for some of their hops. Ryan, where are you farming at, and what's the name of your farm? And if you have a website or a way to get a hold of them, let you know.
I started Lilac Hedge Farm. We're based out of Berlin. I operate on around 100 acres of leased land on 3 separate properties in Berlin and Bolton. I raise beef, pork, lamb, goat, chicken, turkey that we retail at area Boston farmers markets as well as through a meat CSA.
And how long have you been doing this?
This is around 3 years in business, so it's kind of been a growing point. Last year we were at 3 summer farmers markets. This winter we were in 3, and this summer we're going to be looking at around 8. So.
And how can they get a hold of you if they're interested in your CSA or your meat products, your beef and things?
Our website is lilacheedgefarm.com.
Thank you, Ryan. Now, Jamie, I know that you're diversified also. What's the name of your farm and your family farm and your boyfriend's farm and your girlfriend's farm?
I operate Springdale Farm in Littleton, Mass. We are a diversified fruit, vegetable, and livestock operation. We raise a lot of Angus beef cattle, poultry, hogs, lambs, goats, and pretty much every vegetable that can be grown in Massachusetts, and a lot of berries. And you can find me at www.springdalefarms.com.
And that will be a wrap on just for the Cape Cod folks that are watching. We have a lot of young farmers on Cape Cod that are farming, and they need your support just as much as these three. And this is just a small representation of the farmers that will be here. We're going to talk to some FFA folks and some 4-H folks. Guys, thank you for your time.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.